G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. We've got a big round to review and also get us prepared for the bye rounds, which are finally upon us. Let's go!
Hodges done it from nowhere. Busted the goal from inside the 10. Sheed from the boundary. Dusty.
G'day and welcome again to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at Ball Boys Fantasy. And I am joined, as always, by Coach of the Mighty Oxlongs, Luke Rogerson. How are you doing today, mate?
I was coming into this podcast thinking I'm going to have a good old complaint, but I had a sneaky listen to the traders about an hour ago, and I think that if anyone else complains this week other than the Calvinator, I think it's a little bit rich. So I'm going to temper it a little bit, I think.
Yeah, look, it was a rounds of highs and lows. There was a few bullets on the weekend, a couple of late outs, and a couple of scares as well, which
there's heaps to talk about.
We'll talk about a lot today. And then, of course, we're going into the bye round. So I think this is going to be a pretty big podcast. Lots to discuss. But let's start by talking about how we fared. Now, you said you're going to have a bit of a complaint. What did you end up scoring for the round?
So 2-2 something? 2-2-5.
2-2-58.
2-2-58. So, look, you can't complain about that with the round that some people had. And it actually brought my rank pretty much to where it was the week before, which was the 1708 now. So I've dropped 1,000 spots and I've come back in all of 1,000 spots. So the way it happened was the bit that pissed me off, because I had my trades locked in, quite happy with them. Sexton, Fisher in for Closey and Nat Fyfe, and that was looking good. Happy with that. And then, of course, on the Saturday early afternoon.
We had the illness news for Sam Flanders.
And it was all good. Flanders was out, but we all had Richards locked in with the Eon in with the mid-94s. So happy days for everyone. Some people were taking Fraser, all good. 60 will cop that. But old Rogerson here had the E on Dirty Lazaro, who was also named the sub. He wouldn't have scored well even if he wasn't the fucking sub. But it meant that I probably had to pull the trigger on Flanders. And so, okay, well, what can I do? Righto, I'll jump on Zorko. I'll get Flanders out. I'll just jump on Zorko. I was going to get Zorko in a couple of weeks anyway. It's not what I want to do, but I'll get it done. Zorko give me a nice 150. I'll feel happy about it at the end of the week. Fisher's got the tough Port Adelaide matchup, so he'll
bypass Fisher.
He'll get the 70.
Next,
And so I think, without going too much into it, with what Closey scored, what Fisher scored, and then what Zorko scored, I think fucking up my team only made me about 20 points.
Yeah.
And I now am not going to own Flanders for the next 2 weeks leading into his bye. And I'm the
but
proud...
You got Zork on your fork.
Eddie got 80 on my fork. It was dirty. I'd prefer it not on my fork. So, the way it all happened, not great, but Max saved me at the end there. So, decent round.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit about Max later. But, we were both pretty kissed with this one. I've been, look, some people are calling me the most kissed coach of all time.
And they're right. Stand up and show everyone your tip, mate.
It's pretty kissed, mate. So I'm not gonna lie. I had a pretty lucky round, but I've scored a 23.56, which placed me 58th for the round. It's the first time since I think round 2 that I've had a top, probably even a top 1,000, but first time this year I've had a top 100 round rank, and that's pushed me up to overall rank 34th. So I've been knocking on the top 100 door.
We might both be wearing hats on the podcast.
This week I just kicked it down, mate, and found myself into the top 50, 34th, and I'm sitting 297 points behind first place. I wasn't tracking that last couple of weeks, but I'm back into tracking it now.
You're doing well, mate. I think what everyone out there loves about you is just how humble you are about the humility. Oh, it's even better off camera, let me tell you.
No, I swear, it's a lot of luck. I mean, look, last year I got hit with the Callum Mills 3, and I think it's coming back my way around. Obviously, I had the Richards, which I reckon that's a little bit less luck. I had him as my top rookie downgrade target.
11 minutes ago, Drew Jones just showed that it's not as much luck this week with Richards set to be on the side, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But.
Absolutely, yeah, that's not so fortunate, but yes, I think the Max thing was super lucky for me. So he was my number 2 big boy. And I, spending my Sunday with the old ball and chain. And
this is the funniest thing. Because you are the biggest sweaty. Like
I sweat everything.
You sweat everything. And the one time that you didn't, where you might have made a change with this big fitness test, I didn't even know about the fucking fitness test till today.
No.
So this brings me to like rolling lockout.
Oh, mate, it's a gift and a curse.
Well, it can fuck you up. So I would I'd prefer that. So I got somewhat gifted knowing about the Flanders thing, and I could move to Zorko instead of copying Lazaro. But in the fullness of time, it only gains me 20 points, and I've screwed my team around from where it wanted to be. And then obviously lots of people changed the C from Max with that thing, and in the end, in fullness of time again, you get fucked. So I'd prefer just to, after Friday night or Saturday morning, whatever it is, I'd prefer just not to know. What will be. It kills. Speaking
of Max, the tinfoil hat on my head here, like, he's had a fitness test here. He's gone up against Ryan Marshall, where they've talked about, they've got to do some defensive work on him. Do you reckon he's like just doing a big little fitness test, like just in the plain sight out on the ground, where Ryan Marshall can have a look at him? He lets his guard down.
There's no chance.
Max comes out and goes, "Psych! I'm going to dominate you, young fella."
No, there's no chance. But let's be real as well. Were you not genuinely out walking at the park, you would have.
I was on a walk or something like that, or I was watching TV with the missus.
But you would have flipped had you heard. Like you would.
If I had heard, I would have put it on Dawson. 100% I would have done that. Which, look, wouldn't have been the worst thing, but I would have lost another 20 points or so. But that's...
Oh, bro.
That is quite funny.
That's going to infuriate people out there.
I know, super lucky.
One time he's not checking Twitter.
Luck can push me up there. Luck can easily taketh away as well. So I'm not counting my chickens just yet. I've been in this situation before, Luke. 2 years ago, I got as high as the 24th ranked player, and I choked hard in the second half.
Like a Portuguese porn star,
So there is plenty of time for me to fuck this up in the second half. We're still not even halfway yet. In fact, I think this will be the halfway mark come the end of this round. So much time and water's got to the bridge. So I'm definitely not getting too ahead of myself. But
I sort of worked out over the weekend as well. I thought, I'm getting down about my team. I just need to change my perspective. So I've altered my perspective. I'm no longer coach of the Oxlongs. I'm assistant coach at Mitchman. Hey, you'll be guilty.
Starting with falling on the sword with Dane Zorko.
I did.
Taking him out for
Brought in Zorko and said, fucking
scores down.
Correct. I know how to trade in a dud score. So
yeah, well, well, we'll get to a few other players that helped me along the way as well that also had a poor score that have been cursing me this week. Speaking of other things that happened, I defeated John Harmey in the Content Creators Cup. You had a narrow loss to destroy. Yeah. Late changed.
This one's all time. I don't know if Roy was watching this one too, but at the full time in the last game, scores were level.
Draw.
It was a tie. And the way it got to that was, obviously, I was nowhere near Roy. His team's way better than mine, but I had the Gawn C, got close.
He took it off Gawn.
He did. Yeah. So he got real unlucky there. But all I needed was 10 points from Harley Reid in the last quarter. And halfway through, 0 points. Takes a big specky on the wing. That takes him to 10 points. You little ripper. All I need is, I need 2. I need 3. That's all I need. He gets an open hand pass on the wing. Fumbles the motherfucker with like 2 or 3 minutes to go. I'm like, there it goes. So I thought, I'll take the 2 points. I'll get the draw. Check my phone an hour later. Late update. Roy beats me like 3 points. So I rode the roller coaster on Sunday for the Content Creators Cup. And obviously you guys will know, but just mentioning Infinite Wealth there, who are putting on the Content Creators Cup. And they've got a free gift for you guys there valued at $3,000 if you are a fantasy coach and you want to jump over to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy. You can access that free gift valued at $3,000.
We've got a new segment coming up, which I'm very excited for. Just a quick little segment. Obviously, first of all, before we run this segment, big shout out to the father of these terms, and that is Dossie.
Yeah.
Previously with the Pod, now over at that other game at Supercoach. But he definitely coined the term observable thirst. We're just trying to take it to another level here. And obviously, the thirstiest animal in the world is the legendary sea sponge.
Well, that's what Google tells me.
That's what Google says.
The sea sponge. So let's. How about you reveal our first sponge?
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Absorbent and yellow and porous is he.
This guy isn't yellow, but he is absorbent and porous.
He is so porous. He is the thirstiest dude out there.
He is so thirsty.
Calling for marks. So the sponge of the week goes to Luke Ryan, and he it was a big. If you put the VC on him on Friday night, 144, just demands the ball whenever he gets a chance, whether or not it's helpful for the team or not. And that is what we recognise with a sponge of the week.
Well, 2 weeks ago, I should have traded Sheasel to Luke Ryan. Instead, I traded Sheasel to Tom Green. This was the aggressive move. Remember why I made that aggressive move? Because there were no good rookies available.
Yeah.
Including Joe Richards, apparently.
Yeah, well.
And a week down the track, I could have used Joe Richards on the bench
Yeah,
to
you absolutely could have.
cover Flanders.
Yeah,
So.
it did you a few different ways.
It has.
Luke Ryan is our sponge of the week, and we're going to keep updating this one week in, week out to recognise those thirsty gangsters out there. And on the flip side, something...
My hump, 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 my hump.
The camel of the week goes to Marcus Bontempelli for his devoid of thirst. This guy is as quenched as they come, you reckon?
Coach comes to you and says, guess what, Marcus? Game in the balance, last quarter.
Where do you want to be?
I'll go sit at full forward.
Park at the forward line.
Don't worry, bro.
The entire quarter.
I'll sit at full forward. Oh, chuck the 18-year-olds in the middle. Yeah, chuck them in the middle, bro. I'll sit at the forward line. Yeah. Oh, fuck, we're down by 4 goals. I'll come in for my first CBA.
Yeah,
the last
first
quarter.
CBA. Last minute, just waltzes in
Bro,
there to the CBA.
just when we thought that we were going to get a ceiling score from Marcus Bontempelli, he in the 3-quarter time huddle, growing a hump out the back. So
gets the old -3 2 days later as well, just for his troubles.
So bit of my humps from Marcus Bontempelli.
Ridiculous.
Perhaps unfair after last season, but give me more than parked at full forward.
No, but he's not displaying the thirst. Like, he's a good player, so he's gonna get himself to 100 every now and again. But a man of his talents, that should be 120. That should be 130.
Yeah.
And if he had the Luke Ryans about him, he would be by far and away the highest averaging player. But he's not. He's quenched. So let's move over into our next segment.
And the winner of the Norm Smith medal.
You're an embarrassment to what you do, mate. You're an embarrassment.
We're just putting like more and more segments where we don't actually talk about anything fancy relevant in front of all the good stuff.
Let's fly through this one. Bulldogs versus Sydney. Best on ground. Who have you got here, Luke?
Errol getting it done. He is a thirsty operator as well.
He is thirsty. Nearly a 120 there. Flog. I don't have him, but I'm outraged for everyone else who does.
Yeah.
Jack fucking McRae. He has just devolved into basically a rookie. He's a rookie. He's scoring less than 60s. It's
bad. And
he's got to be... We'll talk about him in another segment later, but it is infuriating to watch.
I don't know if you've listened to the traders yet, but Roy had one of the underrated calls. He goes, he's looking more like White Goodman out there playing dodgeball. Elite call from him.
He's not looking for football. So he is the flog deservingly so. Freo versus Collingwood.
Now, the bog here is Richards. He's got to be. He saved so many coaches from trading out. So whatever is happening now this week with him being out, I think
it's justified itself. I think
it has.
For that one thing.
That thing he's saved a lot of coaches. So well done, Joe Richards.
Flog here. I'm going to give it to Jeremy Sharp because fuck this guy. When I had him in my team, he was dropping 30s. I've since dropped him out, and he is averaging, I think, 100 points since I've traded him, and has been the most successful cash cow of the year. I started with the bloody dude. I was one of the first guys on this man.
You're right, mate. You've been hard done by.
I am so hard done by. Just copping bullets, mate.
Spot on, mate.
Look, I did make him Nick Dacos, so I'm not super upset, but just let's stop gifting these other coaches out there these free points from a rookie in the midfield, because it's it's not cool.
North Melbourne and Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide are a tough matchup, but the Fish said, "Fuck you, tough matchup." I'm gonna be playing like I'm a top 6 forward, and I think that if you don't already have him,
he's a contender for Sponge of the Week, I reckon.
Well,
watch his thirst. He asks for the ball.
I suspect that after his bye, there'll be a lot more people jumping back on.
Yep. Flog. I'm gonna give it to Tom Powell. Just Tom, mate. I know you're a young player, but you've got the midfield rolled back.
Yeah.
You're just sucking. Like, you're in a forward line. You're in a forward line where, players like Brian Myers who have never sniffed a CBA are averaging 90, and he's a pure inside mid, and he can't get his way to over 75, 80 points.
The most frustrating part is that he's shown that he can score well. So I think it's more frustrating when you've shown it.
So here's the flog for this week for that game. Carlton versus Gold Coast.
Walshy can have it this week. I think he was the top scorer, and he's somewhat fantasy relevant. So.
Touk Miller gets the flog. What the fuck has happened to Touk? I feel bad because I recommended the pick to you a few weeks ago.
Well,
but
I couldn't get anyone else.
He was going all right and just has not looked near it these last few weeks, and he is a contender that could potentially go for some coaches over these next few rounds as well. So he gets the flog for that game.
I looked reasonably hard to find something good in the Geelong GWS game, but nothing was really good. It was average. Tom Green. People wanted a big trade in against an easy matchup. Nothing doing there. Whitfield just scraped his way.
I'll give Whitfield the best on ground, I reckon, for not getting concussed. He got whacked in the head twice. Yep. And the old Whitfield would have gone down with that. So
he's tough
I reckon his head's just hardened up a little bit.
All right.
So
Positive news. Who was the flog in this one?
the flog for me is Grind Myers. Again, the forward line. We're looking for people to step up. And he was the guy we were looking to, at least he's consistent. At least he's a solid 80 to 90 every week. And then he goes and drops a 65. No one's safe, Luke. No one is safe
correct
in the forward line. So he gets a flog for just showing another inconsistent player as a forward. Richmond versus Essendon. Richmond finally decided to turn up a little bit in this game.
Yeah, they worked hard.
Which was nice to see. But who gets the best on ground in this one?
Again, there wasn't really much going on. I think that Ridley gave us a big score, but nobody's got Ridley. And then Zach Merritt, I think people who had Zach Merritt were hoping for an enormous score against the Tigers. So I just gave it to Kane McAuliffe. So he's a rookie option. Presenting himself there, and I think he did mid-60s, which is respectable for coaches that own him.
The flog for this one goes to whoever the fuck is doing Giles Caldwell's rotations, because they are the weirdest rotations I've ever seen. It's like I can withstand a 70% time on ground player, but the way he gets there just fucking does my head in.
He's actually a good player too.
He'll come in, he'll sit on the bench for like 7-8 minutes, come on at 14 minutes, play 5 or 6 minutes, then go back on the bench. It's like every now and again, he'll have this one quarter where he just rides the pine for more than half the time. He'll finish the first half on the bench, start the next half on the bench, and he's a good player. He's one of their better players in the team, I reckon. I don't know why he's sitting on the pine so much. If his tank wasn't elite, like fine, but why do you start on the bench after the first half when you've come off the ground having a great first half? I really don't understand it at all, and it's driving me absolutely nuts. It's really doing my head in. So
nobody watches players closer than a fantasy coach.
Oh, mate, he's unique for me, and it just gives me the shits. But anyway, Hawthorn versus Brisbane.
Shit.
Nothing to see
Carl
here.
Amon scored well, but too little too late, Carl.
What about, did Will Day go all right? I didn't even look at his score. I know some people traded him in.
100.
Yeah, that's all right. Flog, I'm giving it on your behalf to Dane Zorko.
Thank you.
If you trade a player in over $1 million, he's got 35. He's 35-year-old. Week in, week out, he's dropping 110s, 120s, 140s.
My trade-ins are elite this year.
80.
Well, I've got Bont for like a 60. I've got Took for a 70. I've got Zorko for an 80. I've got Tom Green for an 80. I'm flying.
Instant rewards. Sweet sugar over there.
I'm all about the sugar hit, you little ripper.
Melbourne versus St Kilda. Best on ground. I'm giving it to Max's false fitness test. That is just absolutely elite. I wonder how many people change the captaincy. And if you did, I mean, I feel sorry because I would have done the exact same thing. I 100% would have done the exact same thing. But if you out living your life and you kept the captaincy on there and it's come off your way, it's a big blessing because I think it made it all the more unique. And then Flog, again, on behalf of other owners, Rowan Marshall, where the fuck did this come from?
That is crazy. This to me highlights just like this year, and I think it's been even more so. There's some things that are just hard to pick. Like Rowan Marshall goes 2 weeks where most people in the community... 170. Well, I'm talking about the 2 weeks before that, where most people in the community go like, oh, you probably got to get off this. Like, it's a sinking ship.
Yeah.
A lot of people do get off. He pops 2 170s, and then we're all going, hey, this guy is now a must-have. And it goes to just show how volatile things can be week to week.
It is hard. At the end of the day, we're all kind of just guessing what's going to happen next, and shit like this can happen, and you're sort of left scratching your head. 11 points at halftime. He had a 0-point second quarter. 0.
That's crazy.
Bagels.
Crazy for a guy who went 170 the week before.
Oh, my God. And then to finish it off, Adelaide versus West Coast. Who gets the best on ground here, Luke?
Well, Jordan Dawson, but the little caveat in that is that he had a 60-point first quarter and only finished on, what was it, 120?
129 or something
Okay,
like that,
so 129 you take every day of the week, but really big first quarter to set that one up.
Yeah, kicked a couple of goals there early, so he did well. Flog for this one, his teammate Jake Saligo. Did you see this? He had 34 points, got subbed out at halftime for management. I don't think you're getting subbed out for, management at halftime against West Coast. Like, I reckon there's something going on here. There was some people rubbing his hammies and things like that. I don't know. There's some weird things going on here, so he might again appear in another category later. Let's talk about some general strategy, and we're going to start by talking about the buy rounds, which are here, and in particular this buy round, which I always consider to be the most awkward round of the year when it comes to fantasy trades, because we're on the buy rounds now, but we've got no one to trade to coming off their buy rounds. 100%. So now you could look at this 2 ways. You could look at this, okay, just like every other round that's been previously leading up to the buys.
Yep.
Everyone that you're trading in still has a buy round coming up, so we can still make some upgrades, okay, and then just cop the fact they're going to miss a week. That's fine. Or you could use this round to do a rookie fix-up and trade red dots to green dots, because in this round, if you've only got sort of 18, 19 players playing, then if you can get more green dots onto your field, you're going to have more of those shitter scores drop off. So potentially that might help you get some more points, plus kickstart some cash generation, plus have those players that are there now help you through the next few rounds as well. So it's going to be a little bit depending on what your team is looking like, how many players you have out, or injuries, bullets you're copping. But what do you think most of us should be looking to do this week, Luke, in terms of our trades in a bit of an awkward round?
My main recommendation would be don't trade in round 12 by players. That's a trap, I reckon.
It's a good start. I don't think they'll score very much this round. Although some people...
It's a trap for young players.
We'll get the question, can you trade in like a Zach Fisher this week? Or can you trade in like a Zorko if it works for your buys? I'm not for this, because there's too much that can go wrong in that week. And you might as well get someone in who's scoring and get those guys next week. That's just my thoughts.
I think like my initial thoughts on it are you could do sort of one or two things. You could go with the logic that you've been saying, where you still get your upgrade this week and you just kind of keep rolling with getting those upgrades and ignore the fact that person will have the buy. Or you might use this in the case that I'll likely do, is that my bench is just absolute hot garbage. So I might use this to try and fix up some of those red dots going forward. But a point that we talked about off air that I thought you made, which was good, was map it out over 4 weeks. So three of the next 4 weeks, you want to be doing an upgrade. And so if you work out that if you do an upgrade this week, that comes at the expense of an upgrade in one of the 3 subsequent weeks, don't do that. You want your main upgrades to be coming off round 12, coming off round 13, coming off round 14. Which I think was a good point. Yes,
because if you're trading in a player who's already had their buy, you're effectively getting an extra game out of that player than if you trade in a player now. So if you think that over the next 4 weeks you can get 4 upgrades, then I still think you go to do that. But if you're looking at your team and you're not sure, okay, money's a bit tight, you've got a few red dots and things like that, you're not sure where the cash is going to come from, and you're only confident you could get 3 upgrades, well, then make those 3 upgrades not this week. This week, save that cash up, because if you upgrade now and don't upgrade next week, for example, you're effectively missing a game from that player you're upgrading to, so you're going to get less points in the long run. So as hard as it is sometimes to delay that sugar hit, I think it is in your case, for example, and other people who in that similar situation, if you've got a lot of non-playing players, or you're only fielding, I would say if you're fielding less than 19 or fewer, I'd be trying to get at least 20 players on field. And it would also depend on like who's there. Like if you've got 20 on field, but your 20th player is like fucking
Charlie Lazaro.
I was going to say him, but he's on his bye, so he's not going to even do that. He's
plugging in my brain.
I don't know, someone real shit just hanging around. That's basically giving you 30 points. I was going to say Jai Clark, but he's also suspended. So anyone who's really shit, who's only good for like a 40 point, you're not going to count that. They've got no chance of being sort of your best 18. But if you've got 20 players there and they've at least got the ability to hit a 60 plus score, then you might look to maybe make an upgrade and try and improve your side and try to do that over the next 4 weeks.
So I know it takes a little bit of work, a little bit of effort, but I know it's something that you do where leading into the buys, you map out essentially what you would like to do in an ideal world. So bullets aside, random price movements aside, you've got a bit of a plan going in. Hey, I think I'm going to do these players down. I think I'm going to do these players up. So it takes a little bit of effort, but obviously you're sort of trying to account for the players' price movements in that to then be able to achieve that safely. So like just to give full transparency, who are the players that you're seeing will leave your side in the next 4 weeks, and who are the players that you, in an ideal world, will see come into your side?
So in my team, I've got 2 rookies left on field in Darcy Wilson and Harley Reid. Now, Darcy Wilson is a player that, I don't know, maybe he's the round 15 buy, which is excellent. So he's kind of a guy that I'm parking to the side in our forward line that I don't know if he's a high urgency, but Harley Reid is someone that I'm keen to upgrade. I think he's kind of reached his top price. And then you've got players like Jai Caldwell, Alex Sexton, if you've got a Jack McRae, if you've got some of these other poor performing mid-prices, they are all expendable now. Like we are trying to get to, it's sort of in my mind around the buys, we start to shift a little bit to more like value is still important, but we're also trying to get rid of anyone who's underperforming now and try and get to those guys that can give you a consistent 100 week in, week out. Or if you're looking at the forward lines, just those guys that can give you 85 week in, week out. So for me, that's where I'm putting a lot of attention to. So the issue that I'm finding is this week, if I was wanting to get a forward upgrade, there's no forwards that I like that don't have a round 12 bye. So I don't have Fisher. I don't have Zorko. I want those two players coming in after their bye. So that's where I'm going to be looking at next week and the week after. I want to go bang, bang, Fisher, Zorko into my side.
Is there a scenario where you could pocket cash this week to then get them both next week, or is that not something
I'd have to pocket a shit ton of cash considering Zorko's price. So I don't know if that's possible for my team. So I'm probably going to do one week, one the next week. It'd probably be Fisher first just because of his price movement.
So in that scenario, am I right in saying that then you're going to forego trading in around 13 guys? So maybe you're missing on like if it was like a Luke Ryan that some people want to trade into, or a Rosie, or if you don't have Butters, these kind of guys, are you foregoing those guys to get the forward line sorted?
This is the thing where I don't know. It's a bit of a tough call. So I think early days of my thoughts. I'm going to try and force a little bit of an upgrade this week, and it's going to come from the likes of players like Tom Powell. Harley Reid. Some of those guys that getting rid of two of those players. I can get a lot of cash and still get an upgrade, and then hopefully.
Who are you thinking of going to?
I'm looking at one of those around 13 guys. So whether it's a Brayshaw, a Sarong, a Luke Ryan, one of those guys in the round 13 to help me get through these next several weeks. I think those are the upgrades that you'd be looking for, because I think most of us are probably going to have a maximum of 3 or 4 guys on that round. So it's going to be super easy to cover. And if you can get those guys in now, them missing a week is less likely to hurt you, I think, in the vast majority of teams than getting someone in round 14 and 15, because I think those are going to be harder to get through than obviously round 13 where there's only 2 teams on the bye. So those are my initial thoughts. But, I mean, if we keep getting more bullets, I might have to forgo that and just sort of get some more green dots sorted, because in my current trade plans, I do have Harley Reid leaving my side, but he is obviously at least playing, whereas if there's too many other guys that miss, I will only have sort of 19, which I don't really want to go into just dropping off one score.
Given that we just got the news about Richards and it's a month.
It is a month?
So that's what Drew Jones just tweeted out. So where do we...
So obviously that's shit timing, because now he's going to miss up until his bye.
Correct. So it's only shit coaches own him, but most of the good coaches just didn't get on him.
Just kiss coaches, mate.
Well,
so what do we do with him? Is he a trade? I mean, he doesn't have that much money on your head.
He doesn't, but also there's no point in holding him, because what, you want him playing after the buys? No,
I mean, he's still going to be good cash generation when he comes back.
Well, this is the thing. 4 weeks from now, what does Collingwood's side look like? He's been great. So I think
he's going to walk back to that side. Personally,
there's every chance that hopefully he does for those people that own him. But other than that, he gives you absolutely zero through the buys. So
I think he's definitely fine to trade, but I'd be trading players like Hugo Garcia. I'd be trading players like Blake Howes or someone like that ahead of him. Those, there's red and then there's red.
Okay.
So trying to prioritize those guys. But he is definitely someone you could trade if you wanted to get those numbers on your field, if you have traded him in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, that does suck and it is unfortunate. Obviously, there goes the ups and downs with fantasy footy. Before we get into the trades articles shopping blocks, I want to go through the Ball Boys best boy. I think it's a good time of year to have a look at... Yeah, a little fade out. Have a look at the best in each line to have a list of those targets. So I also find that at this time with the bye rounds, the 2 down, 1 up gives you the opportunity to sometimes target those maybe guys that you've been missing, that have maybe hurt you. Now, I usually want to, again, go off their bye, but players that I think are going to be the best 22. And I think there's a few obvious ones, but there's a lot of debate in some of the back end of the list.
Backline's stacked.
Backline is stacked.
So stacked. Wish I could have a 7th defender on field.
I think there's 4 you could lock in. I think Nick Dacos, Nick Martin, Luke Ryan, and Hayden Young.
Happy with that?
I think are all, I don't think, questionable in terms of the top 4.
Okay.
Number 5, I have Harry Sheasel there. Assuming if he plays the role that he played on the weekend and the weekend before, where he's predominantly a full-time mid, I have no dramas him being there. I'm a little bit nervous still that maybe like a Simkin comes back into that side and he plays a bit more forward, but he was the highest CBA getter on the weekend. And if that's his role, I think he's a good enough player that he's going to still be a 105 plus, which I think gets it done as a top 6 defender. Do you have any disagreements there or still some risk?
Yeah, I think I think there's a little bit of risk there, but it's not enough. And most people still own him. It's not enough risk to be jumping off. Yep. I don't think. I think you're going to get from him what you're going to get from maybe a Whitfield, from a Wang potentially. I think it's in that ballpark. You're not losing out by staying on that one. But then also, if, for someone like me who's traded him out, I'm not scrambling now.
No, I don't think so.
To get him back in.
You could match him with someone else, I think.
The one that I'm concerned about that a few people will own, and it's on the cusp there to me, is Whitfield, because even though he got a low 90 this week, he scrambled to that in the last quarter.
He did.
And he's in it.
So I don't have him in my best 6 at the moment.
Well, in the same way that Tom Stewart's been found out a little bit by teams, I think Whitfield has as well.
I think there's a bit of a game plan there.
I think there is. So
he's got Sydney. So after his bye, he goes against Hawthorn, Port Adelaide, Sydney,
James Jordan,
Adelaide,
again.
Carlton. That's a very hard run.
It is.
So he's actually got on the buy right now. Now, the problem is he's not worth very much. His price has come down a fair bit. He's under 800K.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's a high priority trade out.
That's the tough thing with guys like these, is this is a guy that can still give you 120, 130 on his good day. If you fall for the trap of going, I can maybe just get him up to such and such, that's where your team leaves the buys and you've done more sideways trading than you potentially have done upgrading.
Are you right in agreeing with me that if you don't own Lockie Whitfield, that you're not targeting him after this round? Because some people might look at that and go, he's cheap, and I agree with that, but I also don't know if he's best 6.
Yeah, and after the first 5 or so rounds, we were all in on Whitfield. So things have obviously changed there, and that run doesn't fill me with confidence. So
I think Whitfield goes best when Giants are up and about. I don't know which is the chicken or the egg, but I think when the Giants are at their best, Whitfield's at his best. So I'd want to see that a bit more. The guy I have at 6 there is the Wang. So Nasiah Wangini-Millera. I think he is kind of the next one there. Some other players that I did consider were Bailey Dale. Oh yeah. Max Holmes, Sinclair,
your boy Clarkey,
and Clark are probably all in the mix there. Now, Clark's a weird story, because prior to the last 2 weeks, he would have been nowhere near this list, but now he's gone bang bang and a couple of positive matchups. He's still averaging less than some of those other guys with everything put together. I think Dale is the one that interests me the most. It's probably the most unique of the bunch.
Yeah. With a huge ceiling.
Huge ceiling. He's been very consistent. Got a bit of a tag, but fought through it. I think he's got... Does he have another tag coming up, I want to say? Or was that just it for the first little while? Let's have a look at his run.
Melbourne, Gold Coast, Eagles, Geelong. I don't think there's anything coming there.
No, it looks pretty good. So I think he's definitely one to potentially have a look at as a bit of a unique play. But looking at these kind of lists, it also can start to... I mean, we're not probably looking at a point of differences yet, but it is something to just flag in the future for some unique plays. Let's head over to the midfield.
Just before we do, just quietly, have a look at the graphic from last year. Have a look at the 3 heads on those cards.
Jordan Dawson.
Larry and Toretto.
Yeah.
Not the best boys this year.
How things have changed, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Long time in fantasy footy. Well, speaking of Jordan Dawson, he is my number 1 midfielder at the moment. I think again, there's probably a top 5 that I'm pretty comfortable with.
He's a forward, isn't he?
Well, he kicks goals anyway, so it doesn't matter. Caleb Sarong, I've got at number 2.
Yep.
I've got Zach Merritt at 3, Dunkley at 4, and Steele at 5.
Okay.
I think Steele, he just reminded us again on the weekend. He's still got it. He's still Steele. He's still Steele. He gets the marks. When he gets the marks, he scores big. So I think I'm still pretty happy with him. Then there's the blanket, I think.
Yeah.
At the moment, I've got Errol Goulden, Sam Walsh, and maybe this is a bit premature, but I still believe he'll get back there. I've got Tom Green at 8. Remember, this is the list for me projecting, not what's happened, obviously, to this point. I think from this point forward.
What do you think? So we had a little bit of a discussion on the weekend, but 2 years ago when everyone was hot on Tom Green, we weren't, and we were very wrong. There's no two ways about it. We were horribly wrong. But our concerns were he'll rack up heaps of pill, but he won't get much outside ball, and so he's not going to accumulate those +6s. So he'll have 30 touches and he'll have 80 points. And that's what he's done in the last 2 weeks. So is that... is there any concern in that for you? Like in the fact that he had Geelong, who teams have just gone absolutely bananas.
Well, he got tagged. He got tagged by Blitzarves, and then when Blitzarves turned into a ruckman, they put Atkins on him. I see him kind of like a Sam Walsh, where Sam Walsh just gets so much of the ball. When he does have those marks and tackles, it's a ceiling score.
Okay.
Whereas I think, Tom Green is the kind of guy where he's going to get 30 touches every single week because he's their only midfielder. I think he led the comp in disposals last year. With a few of their guys going down, I don't see anything reason why that would change. So I think his floor is pretty high.
He is still the perfect trade in target off round 12 if you're looking and you're shopping for a midfielder, I think.
Anyone there you think that I've glaringly omitted or missed? Treloar might be a bit stiff because of what he's done, but I still just can't buy into it. He's averaging 109 for the season.
I think Butters could be a little bit stiff. I think there's every chance that Butters on his day goes in line with those top 8 mids as well.
Butters averaging 106.
Yeah.
It doesn't scream top 8 to me.
What are some of those other guys at the low end averaging? So
Rosie is someone who's obviously missed Brayshaw. You're the hump of the week. Marcus Bontempelli, the camel himself. He's probably the biggest name to not be there.
Yeah.
I think he could definitely force his way in there.
Butters is averaging 6 points more than him.
He is. Noah Anderson. I don't know, Rory Laird. There's not one else that's really screaming to me, like, get me in there. We'll see how Connor Rosie comes in after his injury and he kind of gets going. He obviously had the ankle. He did his ankle in the first quarter, I think, as well, which limited his scoring. But probably Bont and the 2 Port boys are probably the stiffest to miss, I think, in that list.
I think, like, in the last couple of years and no doubt years before this as well, you start to see at this midpoint of the season there's a few guys that start to get rolling after the bye. Yeah. It's like, okay, we mean business now. We start to see some big fantasy scores, guys rolling in.
There could be a guy here. I mean, you floated a name out the other day, like Tim Taranto. Like, he's a bit of a forgotten man. But
if he comes back and Richmond are just dog shit and he just goes and chases Pill, there's every chance that he can go big when he does come back as well.
We've seen teams like that. Like, think of LDU last year. Like, there was a patch where LDU was 120. Like, someone like a Taranto could do something like that. So,
I reckon,
evolve. But
I reckon Callum Mills could be our bench premium later in the year too.
Oh, shit. That's a name that I did not think I'd consider too much this year. But
I reckon there's a cheeky chance he could be. What do we call that? The 18th?
The 23rd premium or whatever.
Premium. There we go.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But so those are the midfielders. Rucks, I've got Max Gawn, number 1, Rowan Marshall, number 2. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously, Tim English is the 1, but I still
about the big X, mate?
Hey, he's not far off, to be honest.
Fucking big X.
What's he? 103 average?
This is a little bit of a sickening thing. Yes, he's dropped to 50 3 weeks ago, but like
he hits 120s, man.
At some point, we're going to have to really reckon with like, we got to trade out the X-Man, and there's every chance he could put a 120 on our head the week we trade him out.
That's luxury trade season, mate, and that's why I've been so steadfast on holding him because I don't want to fast forward to luxury trading early than I have to because I fucking hate that time of the year because every chance you trade out a player...
That's where you'll fuck it up. That's where
I'll fuck it up. Every chance you trade out a player and you lose 50 points.
Yeah.
Thinking you're getting an upgrade like what people would have done last week. So
that's the advantage of having such a shit team. You never reach luxury trading. It's perfect. It's a perfect plan.
Just never get to luxury trading. And here, let's talk forwards. I think there's 4 forwards that we all need right now.
4 forwards.
Isaac Heaney.
Yep.
Sam Flanders, Dane Zorko, and Zach Fisher. I think they're the 4 forwards that you're going to need in your team. And I don't have 2. I've only got 2 of those 4. So over the next 2 weeks after this round, I'm going to be doing whatever I can to get Fisher and Zorko into my side.
Yep.
Do you agree that they're a clear 4 that are sort of top of the line right now?
Yeah, in the current roles. Yep.
5 and 6. At the moment, I've got Brian Myers coming off a 65, but he's averaging 90. He's got Richmond this week, so hopefully he bounces back. So we'll see there. And at 6, I've got Alex Sexton. Zero confidence in those last 2 spots. Some other honourable mentions I'll throw out there. Shea Bolton, but he's concussed. So I was looking at him for this week, but that plan was torn to shreds. Yep. Jai Caldwell, just can't trust his time on ground. Liam Baker, gun player, not the best fantasy player. And Bradley Hill, don't know what the fuck's going on with him, but he scores 150 one week, 50 the next week. And then I'm sure there's others that I'm missing there, but that's kind of the batch I'm looking at there. Is anyone that you like more than the others out of that list, or anyone I think I've forgotten? Do we have to look at Mackay at some point? Like,
oh my God.
Travis Boak has been floating out there, who's now a forward.
I think it goes without saying that if you possibly can, you make that F6 and that F5 spot the last spot that you upgrade. If you can possibly work it with your particular team, just make that the last thing that you do. Because at the moment, you mentioned it before, like Darcy Wilson's going probably close to 80 in his last 4 games, and that's not that far off. And if you can get everything else looking Mickey Mouse before you move into there, I think that's a chance. The other thing that I want to throw up too is like, is there a chance that with our F6 spot, we just, when it does get to luxury trading season, we just target like big matchups week to week.
Well, yeah, and this is where you might start to look at a 23rd premium kind of situation in that forward line with the F6, F5, F6 kind of thing, and see if you can do some looping in that spot, because on any given week, you could have someone that puts up a dog shit score.
Yeah.
And then have someone who maybe puts up a bigger score. But I think that's definitely a bit further down the track.
Down the track, isn't it? Yeah.
But what I do want to have this point sort of show is that I want those top 4. I want Fisher. I want Zorko.
Yep.
I'm at the point now where price be darned, like get in Zorko. If he's the last one of those 4 guys you don't have, I would be trying everything I can after this round to get him in.
Yeah.
Because after that, then you're going to be able to sit back a little bit. Maybe you just hold Wilson there for a little bit longer. Like he's scoring 80s, 90s sometimes. So he's right up there with the forwards at the moment. So there's no rush to move on a play like that. Despite him being a rookie, I think it's about getting those 4 forwards in and then figuring out those last 2 spots later. I mean, Sexton is there. He's a very valuable player in terms of his price tag. What happens when Will Powell comes back in after suspension is a bit of a flag.
That's
there.
That's the week after.
Around 15, he'll come back in.
Which kind of
we'll see.
Works,
we'll see how it all goes. But those are a couple of flags there. So I think it's still probably the hardest line. But yeah, I'm pretty confident in those top 4. All right, let's chop some players. Oh, less time to chop. We've got 3 trays, so we can go extra choppy today.
Chop suey. Let's go.
Chop suey. So number 1, I've got here Tom Powell. He's done, I reckon, for me. He is someone who...
This is surely just you, like... This is just you satisfying your own team. Surely he's not the number 1 chopperoony.
He's on a bye. He's got money on his head. I am absolutely trading him ahead of a player like Darcy Wilson. I'm probably trading him maybe potentially ahead of a player like Harley Reid because he's a green dot.
No, I agree in that sense, but surely red dot rookies
Well, he's a red dot. He's not playing this week. And he's got money on his head.
But what are you achieving trading? I know he's shit. I get
look,
it.
Okay. He's up the top there because I think there's a bit you can do with him.
So if you go
2 red dots across 2 green dots, maybe there's enough cash to get Tom Powell to a Grind Myers or get him across to something. I think that's a genuine upgrade.
If he trades Tom Powell to Grind Myers this week, I'll eat my hat. He's not doing it. Don't listen to that shit. That is not happening. You're not doing that.
Look at these scores over the last 5 weeks. This is a fair sample size now.
If you do that, you will be straight out of the top 100 as fast as you got there.
He's only gone over 80 once in his last 5 matches. 73, 85, 77, 71, and 34.
My issue is not, okay, fine, trade Powell out. You're not trading in Grind Myers.
I might be in another format, but not this format.
Okay, I'm gonna go against you a little bit and say that if you have a shit bench, I think the red dot rookies prioritises that.
There. Yeah, I do think that. That's. I mean, and it is the round where it is dependent. Okay, so I've got the red dot rookies there. Now, I still don't think you're looking at trading out like a Harry Barnett or a Zach Reed. I still think I'd rather hold. But the guys that have a bit more cash on their head, so players like Drury. Players like, who's your other? Lazaro.
He is hemorrhaging cash.
Players like Blake Howes if he doesn't come back. If you don't get the boys back from like a Hugo Garcia.
All of these are names that I have.
Tick, 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 tick. Those are the guys that are in the 300Ks. You can still make a bit of money, get them out of your side. I think they've got to go.
I think I have been a little numb to just how bad Powell's doing. I think sometimes when it's
he's a very unique. He's very
ubiquitous.
highly owned. Yeah. Ubiquitous. Sneak that one in.
Yeah. So I think you don't look at it as closely, but it is dog shit.
But that's where you can get the leg up, I think. So
not trading in Grind Myers.
Hey, Brian Myers against Richmond, he'll kick 7 goals, mate. He'll have a field day.
Lies.
But then the next, I've got Jack McRae. He can go. I'm sick. Like, if I was a coach, I would not be putting up with that.
It's terrible.
55. Fucking Freya put up 12 more points than that.
Yeah.
Like, you make 500k trading him down to a rookie that's going to do the same thing. Like, he's Nat Fyfe essentially at this point. He's got to go.
God, Nat Fyfe.
Like, he's going ahead of Harley Reid. His role is shitter than Harley Reid.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm trading him out ahead of Harley Reid.
It's the good thing about this particular round. It's like it's a weird round and it will throw up a few different things for different
These are the
people,
rounds where you can just cut players that have been pissing you off, I reckon. 3
trades. Anyone you trade in has a buy coming up.
Yep.
People could go many different ways this week.
Yeah, I think it will open the books up. Jake Saligo, this one is more just me being skeptical that he's right. And he's going to hemorrhage cash now as well. Like, you got him in for the run that they had. He scored 37 against West Coast. You could hold him. So I've got him down a little bit further. But I'd be worried that there's something going on with his body and that they're, I don't know, maybe not being super upfront with what's happening. He played 37% time on ground. Break even of 123.
The bloke's 21 years old. He doesn't need management.
He doesn't need a management.
I remember what I felt red hot at 21.
They've got fucking Tex Walker in their team. He needs to be managed.
He needs managed.
Like, what do they do managing Jake Saliga? I reckon there's something going on there. So I'd be pretty happy to move him on before he loses more cash. And then fat rookies, I think, are there. So
fat playing rookies as well.
Yes. So these are your Harley Reids. These are. Yep. I mean, I say Darcy Wilson, but he's a premium pretty much at this stage. Who are some other players there that you might consider? Closey, yep.
You're not moving Sharpie.
Sharpie probably give you another week.
He's a premium, mate. I'm giving him all year.
Yeah, he's dead set of premium. So he's scoring hundreds. So it really is like your
I got to move him up to M3. What's he doing at M8 there? Terrible. He's in front of Clary. He's in front of Tom Green. He's in front of Tuke Miller. Probably in front of Andy Brayshaw too. So he's at M4 at the moment.
Let's talk about some other players that maybe you could look to chop. Well, you just mentioned one there, Tuke Miller. Is there any chance of you chopping Tuke Miller this week? I mean, you're not probably.
I want to give him
type of position,
the snip. I want to give him the aggressive chop.
But he probably goes at his buy, right?
I think so.
So he's probably one you hold.
He hangs on because my bench is so bad. But if I was rocking this juicy, green bench, then maybe I'd consider it.
What about someone like a Riley Bonner, the Boner? Finally, he's back on the chopping block.
Thank God.
Finally. But people have him. The concerning thing is I've heard some people talk about he played a bit of time on the wing. Sinclair did not play a single CBA, so he was back at the half-back line. And when that happens, I think that really affects his scoring because they want it through Sinclair, they want it through the Wang.
Why wouldn't you?
I totally agree. Brad Crouch is probably coming back into the side this round. They've got to do something different. They put Paddy Dow back into the side, so their midfield there's more bodies going through there, so Sinclair's more likely to be off half-back.
Yeah.
Is the flag.
I think the thing about owning Bonner, you're ecstatic with what you've had. So if he's your ticket to get to that upper echelon guy that you want, I don't even think you feel too bad if he keeps averaging, 85, 90, whatever it is, because he did exactly what he needed to do, and he was, And
he's got West Coast, and he's got a break-even still of 95. There's every chance he hits that. So he hasn't quite made my top 5. He's someone you can consider to start to look to move him on. I think the best players are just to move him out at his buy. Maybe next week if you don't have many round 13 buy players to trade. But I'd give him another week at least this week against the Eagles. Even if he's playing on a wing, he'll be there. Although there's a little bit of a risk that maybe he's dropped. Some people are getting a little bit concerned. But I've been fucking hoping for that for weeks. And that hasn't happened. So it's not going to happen. So I think those are probably the main ones there. If you have someone else you're not sure whether to drop or not, drop them down in the comments section below over on YouTube. Trade targets to bring in. A bit of a theme here. Green dot rookies is the top one. So
pulses.
Just anyone below 400,000.
If you got a heartbeat, you're in.
Is low break even. So I think the key ones were to me Joe Richards. That's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, so I was thinking Richards, Freya, and McAuliffe.
McAuliffe and Freya, I think, are the big two.
Yep.
I think Harvey Harrison also now puts himself up in conversation, 289,000 with a 7 break even. He put up an 88 on the weekend.
Yeah.
And with those injuries, I think he's got a more of a chance to not be a vest. So he's someone you could also have a look at. Outside of that, it's a little bit of slim pickings. The defenders is where I just scratch my head at. There's no good defenders.
Like Charlie Dean, he's a defender, isn't he? But just didn't...
I don't know if he hangs around, although there's injuries. 39. Ugh, it's a bit gross. I'm hoping Schoenmaker gets named at some point with, St Kilda doing shit, but
with the rookies, it's always a little bit of a wait and see how the week pans out.
But if there is a defender rookie that pops his hand in, I might be okay to launch into it if you have to use a defender to get rid of someone like a Blake Howes as a red dot or something like that. I think I could launch to a player like that. But I do think, Freya, Harvey Harrison, McAuliffe are your big three.
Yeah.
So I think those guys are probably, we want to walk away with those players at the end of this round. And then I've got a bunch of round 13 targets.
Okay.
So Caleb Sarong, Andrew Brayshaw, Luke Ryan, Zach Butters. So three Freo guys plus Zach Butters there. I wouldn't jump on Rosie just yet. He obviously had the ankle injury on the weekend and his price is still going to plummet down. I've got them ranked in that order, taking value a little bit less into account now. So Sarong, despite being more expensive, he's someone that I'm potentially looking at this week.
So can I just clarify?
Spend up.
Sorry, cut you off.
And then Brayshaw is the cheaper alternative.
Am I just clarifying here? Like, you obviously, anyone from this point has a buy, but you've gone round 13 because you just suspect that most teams that will be the one they can cover the most easily?
Yeah, I mean, if you've already got Sarong, Brayshaw, Butters in your team, then this won't apply to you because you've got a bunch of players in your midfield.
So who are you targeting in that sense then?
Well, in that sense, whatever buy round you're light in, you're trading a player in that kind of that round. So it is hard to put a graphic up and obviously for these kind of rounds. But I think for the majority of teams, those round 13 players are going to be quite light on. So if you have 4 or 5 players in round 13, I think it's going to help you out because they're obviously going to be super easy to cover and they're going to help you out this round coming and then also round 14 to 15, which are probably, to me, going to be the harder rounds over these bye periods. So those are some guys to have a look at. Some other players that are maybe hotter names at the moment, some, trending. Not James Warple. I'm not sure I've got that there. But Will Day is the guy I meant to have.
He's back. Let's go.
Will Day, his teammate. Are we liking what we're seeing from him? Obviously, he put up the 110, I want to say, against a Port Adelaide a couple of weeks ago. Backed it up with another ton against Brisbane. I haven't been as keen on this one here personally, but what are your thoughts on Will Day?
Yeah, I think that he obviously has the role. He's the number one guy there at Hawthorn. He's going to remain that, I would imagine, if they want to continue doing what they've been doing recently. I think where he's at in the last 2 weeks, I think that's about what you're going to get. You might get some 90s, you might get the occasional 115, but I think it's kind of that low ton. So if you look at it from that perspective, like Connor Rosie...
It's solid enough to get you through,
I think it is, but like you go, okay, Connor Rosie is a little bit more expensive. He's maybe not this week. You'd wait and see. But like Tom Green is...
Yeah, but he's on his bye now.
For this week. But like if I'm looking at this as a sort of play over the next few weeks, there's other guys that I have a little bit more confidence have the ceiling.
What about Jack Crisp, who put up again another 100? I think he saved that one initially, but that's 3 tons in a row and a 93 before that in that role.
The injuries keep piling up there, so...
I think I was going to say, I think I prefer him than Will Day, but he is more expensive now.
You can get him as a defender too.
Yeah. Both with the round 15 buy, so solid enough guys to flick them out come round 15. Although we're going to have a lot of rookies that we're going to trade out there. So all your players like Freya, McAuliffe, Harvey Harrison, Darcy Wilson, these guys are all going to be players we're planning to trade out in round 15. So just keep that in mind if you do trade a round 15 guy.
Are those the kind of guys, Will Day, Jack Crisp, that if you're projecting over the next 4 weeks that you can make 4 upgrades, but this first week upgrade needs to be like one of those...
It needs to be a cheap one.
Yeah. Are those guys that you could entertain? Or could you potentially say, okay, I'm going to make a big upgrade this week to a more expensive guy because I know that maybe I'm getting in Fisher next week, and Fisher falls into that category. Like what Fisher wouldn't cost much more.
$750, I think.
So he's in that bracket too. So do you kind of go expensive upgrade this week? I get Fisher.
Well, do you have Zorko? Would be my question, because he's going to be a player you're going to have to pay up for. So if you don't have Zorko, I'd be if all you can afford are these kind of types.
Yeah.
This is where I would definitely heavily consider the triple downgrade, if you will, or the triple sideways, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Cash
up and try and get a really, really legit upgrade next week, whether that be a Zorko, whether that be a Top Green, or or an Errol Goulden, or one of those guys coming off their bye. Because those guys you're trading in that price bracket, obviously they're going to miss a game. They're also, I don't think they're top 6, top 8, or whatever. They're kind of like plug-in pieces at the moment. And if that ever, compromises your ability to get those upgrades the following 3 weeks, I don't think it's worth it. If you're confident that you can still get those upgrades, then go for it. You might be ahead of it, but just be sure that you can, I think, is the main thing for me. So
that'd really kill if on one of those buy around weeks you can't get an upgrade when everyone else is getting
or you have to settle for someone that's just not really the guy you want, and then come after the buys, you're still sort of chasing tails trying to get those sort of top guys in there, and it's harder to do so. We're really at the point now where we want guys who you're going to want to be happy to sit in your team for a little while. I don't see a huge obvious play of someone who's just absolutely skyrocketing up in price that we can jump on. Like a Darcy Cameron was like that for us last year, where he had the number 1 ruck role. Yeah. He was shooting up in price. He was a player. I don't see that option really at the moment in a lot of these sides. It probably is the Sexton and Fisher the moves. A lot of us jumped on Sexton last week. Fisher's got his bye this week, so he's got to be a guy that we jump on next week. Those are probably the ones that I'm looking at there. So, yes. That will do it for our targets list. A couple players that I am watching here. If I remember which button to bloody press.
I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching.
So to me, it's the Connor Rosie. I want to see how he pulls up and whether or not he is someone that we even want to get off his round 13 bye. And then it's just a bunch of forwards. I'm trying to find that 5th and 6th player in the forward line. So a couple of guys I'm looking at. Liam Baker, Shea Bolton, and my boy, Lionel Messi, Brian Myers.
It's not happening.
Look, I'm probably not going to do it in fantasy. I might have a look at it in Bolter with the matchup against Richmond, but probably not this week in AFL Fantasy.
Surely it feels yucky too.
It does feel yucky. But we're going to have to get someone in that F6, F5 spot. And those are the kind of players that I think we should be looking at to fill that spot. Is there anyone that stands out to you?
But like I said before, like the forward line is so crap anyway. Why prioritise any of your time until you have to? So like,
I'm at that point. And some people might be at that point where they have to. They have to start trading in these forwards.
Well, you've got a midfielder rookie, don't you?
Not after this week, I won't.
You're so kissed. What a kiss prick. Well, so you're getting an upgrade and trading in Graham Myers?
No, I'm not trading Graham Myers. He's on the watch list, mate. That's what this section is for. Not a trade target.
Let me look at your team. I'm assistant coach, mate. Let me look at your team.
Yeah, look at the team there. Look, there you go. Look,
that's what I'm saying.
Hey.
Let me
put him back on the field there.
Look, this team is so kissed, mate. Look at this team. It's lipstick all over it.
Yeah, I know. I'm very lucky. All right. Okay. Let's see how we go. We'll leave the people to it. And we're doing our live show again on Friday. Make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If nothing else, to watch me see me fumble this hat for the second half of the season. It's going to be Fumble City here.
Wait, don't worry, mate. Assistant coach Rogerson will step in and shore things up a little bit.
I don't know if I should be worried or more.
Who do you need me to trade in and fuck up this week, mate?
We'll jump on. Actually, who's the highest zone? You've already got Wang. He's one of them. And Bonner.
I taught Wang how to tackle, mate, so I'm not fucking him up.
All right. Let us know in the comment section below who you're looking to trade in this week, and tune in on Friday for our Ball Boys Big Boys, our questions, and also finalising those trade targets. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.